So you want to become a UX designer? Well, you're in luck, because in this video I'm going to tell you what you can do to get started and take your first steps into the field. Let's go! Hello, and thanks so much for tuning into this video in which I'm going to give you my tips on how to get started in UX design. I'm actually a self-taught UX and UI designer myself, so the tips in this video are basically based on some of the things that I did when I was first trying to become a designer and some of the learnings that I've made along the way for learning how to do design work and just figuring out the skills that you need to become a UX or product designer. So the way I approached learning all about UX design can kind of be split up into three parts, which I'm also going to split this video up into. Learn, make, and share. So the first part is all about learning, and I think that should be the first step for anyone that wants to become a UX designer. It's super important to learn all about the field, figure out what UX design is all about, obviously, but also understanding what it takes to work in UX design and what kind of processes and methods that you follow in designing products. Now, this includes understanding users and people in general, understanding the problems that they have, and based on your findings, coming up with solutions that can help solve these problems that they have. This is basically what you call human-centered design or design thinking. It usually starts with some kind of insight about a certain group of people that have a problem or an unmet need, and you kind of take that as a starting point in understanding these people, and based on that you come up with a solution in the form of a design, and you kind of test how that solves the problem that they're having. This is basically the root of how most designers approach their work today. Understanding the problems that people have, coming up with solutions for them, and testing them to see whether or not they're solving the problem. So this should be the core of your initial learning about UX and product design. And there are a lot of different ways that you can get this knowledge. One of the most obvious ways that you can do this is by reading different design books. Some of the books that I read and that I would recommend include The Design of Everyday Things by Don Norman, which is considered by many as a book that every designer should read. A fun fact is that Don Norman actually coined the term user experience design, and so this book is definitely a great place to start when you're first getting into the field. Another book that I would recommend is Don't Make Me Think by Steve Krug, or Krug? Krug? I think it's Krug. So this book is all about understanding how people think, basically, and how you should make your designs easy enough to understand for most people so they don't have to think. Yeah, I kind of just described the title of the book there. But anyways, this is a really good book to read when you're first starting out because it will give you some fundamentals about usability and just understanding how people perceive interfaces and some of the things that you can do when you're designing to minimize the cognitive load and just basically making your designs easy to use for everyone. There are a ton of other really great books about UX design that I would recommend, and I will mention my favorite ones in the description below this video with links to all of them, so be sure to check those out. Step 2 when trying to learn UX design is to start making. When I was first getting into the field, I basically waited too long to start making something. I was a bit hesitant to start working on design projects and start building up my skills because I was kind of waiting for someone to give me permission to start doing design work and calling myself a designer, when really what I should have done is just start it earlier, because you don't really start learning all of these skills until you start doing them. So I would say start doing design work earlier than you think. Start putting theory into practice, because this is definitely where a lot of your learnings will come from. Some of the things that you can do here is to start working on your own projects. This could be in the form of a problem that you yourself have that you don't think anyone has come up with a great solution to, or you could redesign something that exists but that you feel like could be improved somehow. And so in working on these projects, try to follow the process that you've learned about in the books or other materials that you've read so far. Start by identifying a problem that's out there that you want to try to solve, either because you yourself have it, or because maybe you know a problem that a lot of other people have, or maybe because it could be a business opportunity somehow that makes it worth solving. If you're trying to improve an app or a product that's already out there, try to find people that are using this app, interview them, talk to them, figure out what they don't like about the app, figure out what kind of problems that they're having that could help make this app even better. Whatever you do, try to base your projects on some kind of insights, either problems that you've identified or unmet needs with these apps or products that you want to try to redesign. And then based on these insights, you can start generating ideas, try to come up with solutions for how to solve these better. Those could be simple hand-drawn wireframes or post-its even that just represents a flow that you think could be worth exploring. Anything that can help you turn your idea into a concept or a very early form of what could be a product. And then once you have a bunch of different ideas, try to pick out the best one, turn it into a prototype and show it to people. You need to do this early on so that you don't spend too much time working on your prototype before you test it with actual people, because the feedback and insights that you get from showing these people will be super important in trying to identify if the solution that you've created is valid or not, meaning whether or not your design actually solves the problem that people are having. And then once you've shown it to others, you kind of take in the different feedback that you get from them, take it back home, and then use that to develop your design even further. Make some changes, iterate, and keep improving it. So step 3 for learning UX design is then to share your work. Now, you already shared it with some users by testing with them, but what I mean by sharing here is to show it off to even more people. Get online, find a community of other designers that you can get feedback from and just share your work, put it out there. This could be on platforms like Dribbble or Behance or Instagram. It doesn't really matter. The important thing is that you start getting used to getting your work out there and showing it to others, because an important part of working as a designer is to show your work as it's in progress to others, including other designers, and to get feedback from that and that you can learn from, that you can get better from. Now again, in the beginning when I was learning UX design, I was kind of hesitant to do this because the work that you do really gets personal and you kind of, you're attached to what you work on, and so you might be a bit of afraid of what other people might think, what they might say, but this is just such an important part of design that you just have to get over, you have to get used to, because it's basically a requirement, an important part of you growing as a designer, getting used to presenting your work, sharing it with others, getting feedback, and then using that feedback to improve your design. And also, if you ever want to work as a designer, you have to understand that design is definitely all about communicating and to understand the requirements and constraints that you're working under. So very rarely will you have complete freedom to do, whatever you want. There's usually always going to be some kind of constraints in terms of the time that you have for a project, the technical constraints, or business decisions that are important to factor in. Just a lot of different constraints that might limit the scope of the project that you're working on. And so again, if you don't show your work to anyone else, you will never get this kind of input. And it's just something that you have to learn early on and get used to, because it is an important part of working as a designer. All right, so those were my 3 steps that will hopefully help you get started in UX design. Learn, make, and share. Remember those 3 steps. I hope this helps you and encourages you to get started. Be sure to check out the links to books and other resources that I've left in the description below this video. And if you found this video helpful, then please give it a like. And if you want to see more videos like this one, then be sure to subscribe to my channel. All right, that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching and good luck on your journey. I will see you guys next time. Hello, and thank you for tuning in. This is basically how. So I'm actually a self-taught UX and UI. Understanding human. Another book that a fun fact is that super simple wireframes. You do feel kind of vulnerable. That's a hard word. Because you can get kind of, vulnerable. But basically what this means is that UX design should be a collaborative effort. Basically had a starting point in his work. And also, and then once you have a bunch, that is really when you will start